I always forget how loud that is. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
That intro. Like, I don't know what I think your microphone. I mean, you're just not shouting down my ear, unlike the music that just decides to blare as loud as it can.
It's
Hello,
not so bad
everyone.
on my end. I think it's okay.
Yeah, but we both can agree that I'm quite loud, so it's no argument on that side. Hey, Pete.
Paul, how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been. I was it been a couple of weeks. It has literally been a couple of weeks. Yeah, things are good. I've been got my little open source JSON web token generator thing
Oh yeah,
published.
I saw that. There's some interest. I saw Justice Vandenberg like picked up on that and did something with it too. So it's like
Yeah,
already
he's done some stuff to generate certificates.
right. Yeah.
Because this is one of those really annoying like things where Salesforce has done something brilliant. And like I am not going to take any credit for like the original. I mean, the code's mine, but part of it was just me looking at the developer blog, like the developer documentation, and being like, "Here's some example Apex code," and me going, "Well, that looks great." Copy, paste, trim away some of the fat that's not needed,
Nice.
like edit it a little bit.
Right.
I am not some sort of genius there, but it's one of those things that Salesforce do so much for you, and then they're just like, "But do you want to see the code?" Well, that requires magic.
It takes a
Yeah, so
genius to copy the right code, Paul. You have to
it does, yeah.
understand
I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, no. So got that published. People seem pretty happy about that.
Very cool.
Yeah, we and seems useful enough. And I've used it a few times in the project that kind of had the original idea. Been working on some new app stuff. I know
Nice.
this is a Salesforce focused channel, but I've actually been playing with some other technology and platforms, and even another CRM to see what
Oh,
that's like.
interesting.
And
Which one?
yeah, ones. I've actually looked
Oh,
into
okay.
three. So I've got as people may know. So hello to everyone watching along. Welcome to this week's madness. Yeah, so my ISV we have an app focused on messaging, so SMS, WhatsApp, Viber, all from Salesforce. Brilliant. Um, we've had the messaging provider we use. They've had a few inquiries about like, hey, do you have an app for some like HubSpot or Pipedrive or others?
Mm,
And so I was like, yeah, do you want to? Because I've got some background code that I had written actually for Marketing Cloud that I was trying to build a Marketing Cloud app, but I think that one's being killed because Marketing Cloud's developer experience is not ideal, shall we say. Um, and so yeah, so I started looking into that. And what I want to say about it is like just to take 5 minutes if I can,
oh, by
is
all means.
how good Salesforce's developer setup is.
Oh, you
Um,
mean compared to
and
some of these other platforms you've been working
yeah,
with?
and the biggest thing is that, and what I don't think a lot of people understand or give enough credit for, and I should really kind of put together a blog post or a LinkedIn post or something about this, but
Would you like
just
to
to start
publish
off from,
that blog post on Salesforce Ben?
well, we can talk about that if you want. Like, yeah, happy to do so. Um, but like, is yeah, one of the big interesting things is that when you build an app or to go on the Salesforce App Exchange, you build your app on Salesforce, right? You
Right.
code in a proprietary language,
Hmm.
you build your objects on the platform, you bundle it on the platform, it lives on the platform. Like, I don't have a server running anywhere else. It all lives on Salesforce.
And thus, and this is, this is the reason why a lot of developers I've talked to over the years have come over to use Salesforce because there is never a question of, for at least that code that lives in the Salesforce stack, there's never a question of, do I have the right library?
Yeah, and so take HubSpot as an example. So HubSpot, and most of them all seem to be following a pattern of you build an app and you use OAuth to communicate in. And so
Okay. So that
my
app's going
app,
to live on some public cloud infrastructure,
yeah, so mine will be living
platform
on
as a service
Heroku.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got it'll be some Node.js
Okay.
apps living on Heroku. I'm a big Heroku fan, like using Heroku. that anyone who's going to start going, why don't you do it on AWS because it's cheaper? I mean, Heroku costs dollars a month. AWS costs dollars a month.
Did you
But
see? I think that I saw this announcement that yeah, was there some announcement that they made about access for Salesforce partners on Heroku? Let me look that up. You keep talking, and
okay.
I'll see if I can find this
Well,
out.
I thought you were going to say that AppLink was GA, which is also true now.
Which is also
But
true. Yeah.
true. But like Heroku just abstracts away a lot of stuff that I don't need to be messing around with. I don't need to be dealing with certain things that I don't want to deal with. I am lazy and happy to pay for the privilege of being a little bit lazy on certain things. But yeah, like so my app will live on Heroku and it'll auth into HubSpot, let's say. And HubSpot can call things and get stuff, but I still have my own database. I still have my like it's just different. So it's things like and some of the niceties that Salesforce have figured out over the years, like storing API keys. So my app requires customers to provide some API keys for me to talk to the message sending provider.
Right.
Those need storage somewhere, and
Right.
like they need to be stored in a way that's encrypted and hidden and secure, because they're API keys. And yeah, we would obviously so for managed package providers, you use private custom settings. That's a great way of doing it. If you have multiple keys you want to use, if it's just one key, you can store them in other ways. But like, yeah, there's ways of storing them in Salesforce that means that effectively no one can ever see them. But there's no such thing on HubSpot, and so it has been quite an interesting learning curve for me to get my head around the idea of wait, where's this running and how do I do it? Because me OAuthing into HubSpot feels kind of reverse as to how I feel it should be working almost. I feel like my app should be. So yeah, there's some interesting things on there.
Okay, I found it. So, and I wasn't wrong. I just because something like when you work very closely with Salesforce, you end up becoming privy to information that sometimes is not public. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I was saying something that was, but I did see this on LinkedIn, and here is Deb Robbins, COO of Salesforce. Sorry, of Heroku. Hey, Deb, it's good to see you. And here, I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen. Actually, that'd probably be the right way to do this. Share screen.
So while Peter's doing that, welcome to everyone joining us today. Let us know where you're joining from. Say hello. We'd love to see people being here. And we've got, again, a mix of people from LinkedIn and YouTube as well, which is good to see. So drop in and say hello. Let's add. Oh, this is going to be a bit infinite boxy here.
Yeah, is it? Oh, shoot.
Whoa.
Okay. Oh, I totally did the wrong thing.
I'll do that 1 minute.
Let's try it again.
Just so everyone's aware, you're here for technical knowledge. Nope, you've turned off your camera.
I'm a highly skilled technical professional.
Everyone's here to learn about like how to do things that are technically difficult from me.
Okay, there's a much better way of doing this. Let me just move that window over to that monitor as opposed to because it was on the same monitor, and that was my.
I look forward to the blog post coming soon, which is how to correctly share your screen.
It's remarkably okay. Why is it asking me this again? Yes. Allow. Share this window.
And boom, there we go.
So Deb Robbins.
Could you zoom in a touch? Sorry.
I can actually. Deb Robbins is COO of Heroku. There we go. So it's number 2. Oh, no. Number 3. Starting in July, Salesforce consulting partners can request a free Heroku demo org to get hands-on, build demos, and drive more customer wins. So I thought this was actually really interesting news because Salesforce killed free Heroku about 3 years ago. And there's quite an try to outcry about it. It was, the free tier was something that was kind of foundational to Heroku in its heyday. And I don't think it's denigrating Heroku to say that it's no longer in its heyday. It just isn't. I think that's fair. But I think they're definitely investing, Salesforce is definitely investing in Heroku, and you can see that. And I think this is kind of cool. Like if you're a Salesforce partner, consulting partner, and you just want some Heroku to practice with, to learn, to get hands-on, to build demos, to show your customers solutions, looks like there's a free way to do it. You don't have to actually pay the license fee. So I don't know what the T's and C's are or what the limits are. I'm sure there are limits. The old free tier, you could only run about 12 hours of dyno time every 24 hours. So like you had to put it to sleep. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
intended for production apps. But so I'm sure there's something along those lines here as far as limits for how much dyno time you can use. But I think that's pretty cool, actually. If you're a Salesforce partner and you want to get your team skilled up on Heroku, or if you're using Heroku already for your solutions, it's a great thing to know about.
So, a couple of things. Number one, please share the link to that in the comments,
Yeah,
so
I
we
will
can all
do
see.
that. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a shame that it is just consulting partners, because
Yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
I'm an ISV partner, not a consulting partner. But it's what I find really interesting as well is that so when I used to run a consulting partner, and I've kind of run one and been like leading teams in two or three and leading divisions in two or three. And one of the things that's really interesting is the lack of consulting partner knowledge and awareness around Heroku. And
Yeah.
many people just jump straight to using things like Lambda. There's a lot of people that write Lambdas because they're quick and they're easy, and I completely get it.
Yeah.
But for what I'm going to call like security and enterprise reasons, like I always just went with Heroku. Like,
I mean,
and
like AppLink sounds so good though. Like I just
yeah,
wonder
our
if
app
they'll get
link
any
is.
traction with that,
I've already like started looking at where I'm going to integrate it into a couple of apps I've got. It's
And
such a super little tool.
for reference for the audience, AppLink, I'm not allowed to post a
Go
comment
post it in the
for
private
some
chat and I'll
reason. Yeah, I'll put it in
repost.
private
Sorry.
chat. Here you go. Yeah, so AppLink essentially, it so there's a couple of features about it, and I'm probably going to muddle some up, but since you've been using it, you can straighten out whatever I get wrong. The first thing is that it's going to surface a Heroku interface inside of the setup menu. So, you now, that management of services kind of comes to Salesforce, which why didn't they do that like 10 years ago? Like seriously, I don't understand like how that got like not done, but whatever. And then once you have that, if you set up a Heroku app that has like an API, for example, the 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 services and the APIs to access that, to authorize on that, are much more straightforward than if you just stood up a Heroku app that you had to manually go through the authorization on, and make sure you had the right keys and everything set up. It just is a lot more seamless. It's almost like maybe what they should have built instead of Salesforce functions.
So, well, so there's a couple of things around that. So number one, I can tell you why they didn't do it years ago.
Ooh, okay.
So what is Heroku built on?
Well, AWS.
Right? What is
Yeah.
Hyperforce built on?
Okay. AWS.
So that was from what I've heard one of the big reasons
Okay.
that they were doing it. And I think with the functions thing, and Andy spoke a little bit about this on the podcast he did with us. So Andy Fawcett, formerly VP of Platform at Salesforce, who was the man behind functions, was saying about how AppLink is kind of what functions was originally intended to be,
Yeah.
but it's designed to be a bit more scalable and also free. I think one of the things that Salesforce have nailed down with AppLink is to try and not do functions. I think, what I mean by that is functions work really well when you're trying to do a serverless model,
Uh-huh.
but coordinating that serverless model, like the thing is, we all say, oh yeah, but functions are great because what you do is you just build this function and then you build an API gateway and then you add some authentication layer on top and you're piecing like 4 bits together. Whereas on Heroku, you go and say Express generate app and it gives you Node.js Express app and you've got your API points there already. And
Right.
I think that that's really kind of where they've done well is saying, okay, look, we're going to do this. We're going to expose it in the places we know our developers are going to want to use it and work down that front. Because, yeah, the target for Heroku is no longer those small indie startups that are just trying to get something running. It's are you a company who's looking to put some stuff in the cloud?
And so in that way, I didn't want to speak out of turn, but my assumption would be then that there'd be a set of classes, methods in Apex that would surface connecting to any particular um uh I'm just
API.
spacing on the name of the feature again. The Heroku
AppLink API.
AppLink, yeah. So any particular AppLink Heroku app. And is any app on Heroku instance that's tied to your org automatically surface in AppLink as well? Or is there like
I'm
a
pretty
special
sure it is.
thing you have to do to set it up?
I mean, you've got to have I think you've got to add AppLink. So I'm just saying here, like, just seeing the basic setup is your language of choice, an eco plan, which is the lowest tier, and optionally the Salesforce CLI.
Right.
You've got to add Heroku AppLink as a feature in your Scratch org if you're using a Scratch org file.
Okay.
So in the Sandbox, you've got to like enable it. Let's have a look. Create your app. Provision the Heroku AppLink. Deploy your app. Yeah, it's just a plugin SDK, like authorizations. It can work with Data Cloud, which I think is really cool.
Right.
Where is the invoke your published app actions? It is the. Let me share my screen now. This is honestly what I think is just slightly mind blowing. That I don't understand why this is not what everyone's like super pumped about right now. Maybe I'm just.
I think the word probably just hasn't gotten out yet.
Heroku AppLink.Heroku API creates you a Heroku API instance, and then you call your blah blah blah, and that's it.
Okay, and so
you have to add a permission set.
.response.
So get accounts. So Heroku API. So what it's doing in the background is it'll be wrapping the response that's generated here in an Apex type. So this is this is one of those interesting things that I can see. I can very much see the way in which they're trying to do this is. So Apex is a statically typed language, right?
Right.
Sorry, that wasn't meant as a question. Like that was It's a thought process. And Apex works really poorly with kind of unknown JSON types. And anyone who's working with an API, the first thing you do is normally create some sort of wrapper class around for what the JSON response is going to be, and you deserialize it to that to work with it in Apex.
Right.
You can just scan through the JSON, but that's sucky. Just it's not fun.
No, it's it's not ideal.
And this is the same. This is not just an Apex problem. This is the same problem in Java, in .NET, in Go, in insert statically typed language here. In fact, in TypeScript, where you start adding types everywhere, you've kind of got to have this thing back. Like, you need to know what it is. Like, it's an unknown set of data, and I think people also need to remember is that JSON data is just a data type.
Yep.
It's not like your API has a defined contract. It could be XML, right? Which is randomly have you seen that there's a big push from Anthropic for people to start using XML because LLMs understand it better.
Really? I've not seen this.
Yeah, I'll show you that in a minute. But so what they're doing here is they're wrapping
talk like a machine more, people. Come on.
Yes. So they're using all of these responses, and they're creating all these wrapper classes to make it easier for you. So this is what this looks like. So get account underscore response will be you have a get accounts endpoint, and it's the response from it. If you were making a request to it, it will be get accounts request. And I can just see how they've done that. And like if you must have used Apex to WSDL before, where you've WSDL to Apex many moons ago.
God, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. This is just redoing that, and it's
Right.
there to help make sure that you have the right data types, because Apex does not want to get
taking that off of like an open API spec or something, so that it just
yeah, I'm pretty sure it will be.
Yeah,
which again, like I was playing around with writing an open API spec earlier this week, and Claude loves a good open API spec to go away and generate your code for. Top tip for anyone wanting to write an API quickly: use open API and then have the system do it for you.
Nice.
It's which brings it brings me on to two things. So number one is Anthropic XML. Use XML tags to structure your prompts. This came out the other day.
But is it really XML? I mean, they're not talking about like pure dyed-in-the-wool, like well-structured, well-formatted XML. They're just talking about some kind of markup, aren't they? Oh no, look at that.
Well, I mean, that's...
Yeah, because they're using use spreadsheet data. So it is actually... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, so when you say it's just a markup language, it's not proper dyed-in-the-wool XML. There's a 3-hour deep dive argument we could have. When is a markup language XML or not?
Okay.
When is it just some tags, and when is it really XML? But yeah, so there was this thing, and then what was the other thing we just said a second ago about open API specs? I can't remember, but yeah. Oh, that was it. Kiro. Have you seen Kiro as well? This is now becoming more.
Reading a little bit about Kiro.
Yeah, apparently I haven't used it yet, but if anyone wants a good video overview, obviously go and watch the Fireship.io video, because Fireship's just the best place for these things. And yeah, he was just saying it does spec-driven vibe coding, really. So for you to do something, you go in there, right?
So you write an open API spec and you say, I want this, build me the API that's going to produce this.
Yeah, so the way Kira works, go away. You don't need to see me having a how often to clean all my notes there. That was meant to be accepting that. Here, can you see that they've got a requirements MD file?
Yeah.
And then a design MD file. So this is the process it takes you through. It makes you write your requirements first, then design it. So it gives it a high-level design. Then it breaks it down into tasks, and then the LLM actually runs through these tasks. Which, just to be clear, what has happened here is what every developer has been asking for the past 20 years is, can I have some well-written requirements, please? Can I have some sort of detailed design around what's needed? And then can I just put it in a list of tasks to go away and work on? But yeah, so
what you're saying is we're bound to get better requirements and designs now.
No, I think what we're going to get is a lot of LLM-generated requirements. Can you generate some requirements for me for my magic app?
Oh, God. Oh, we are getting to that point where it's going to be like, okay, here's my project. I need some requirements. I'll go to this LLM to generate the requirements based on a prompt. I'll use the prompt to then go to another LLM to create the design. Once I have the prompt, the requirements, the design, I'm going to take it to like a code generation tool, and then that's going to write my code.
Yeah. And if you use Grok for any of these things in the middle, you're going to end up with like some sort of Hitler-based references throughout or something like that.
Oh my God!
Did you? I mean, I assume you saw that news as well.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I've heard multiple things about like what Grok has become, but yes, yeah.
Yes. Crazy times.
Apparently, Grok was too woke. And now Grok's a Nazi.
I mean, of course, it depends on what your definition of woke is. Mine would not be just not a Nazi. I think that would. I think that there's. I think there should be
I do
nuance in
agree.
this debate.
I think most people would agree that there is a chasm between the boundary area of woke and the boundary area of Nazi. Yes, I think that's a fair thing to say. That almost seems like one of those classic, like the Salesforce divide slide, you know, where they'll have like, it'll either be like a rushing river or like a big
Oh yeah, it's something I
chasm,
want.
right? And then like, you know, it'll be like this and this and of course, like I don't think we want the log in between in this case, but just like you just need like that chasm slide to
Brilliant.
illustrate that. Oh my goodness. Oh,
So
wow.
that's how I've been. I've been messing around with some of these things and playing. How have you been for the past 2 weeks, Pete?
Well, so there's two things that I'll share about. Because so the yesterday and today I was several weeks ago I brought Steve Simpson in, who works for Capado. He's kind of their sort of evangelist. Like, I mean, he kind of serves a developer relations function, but his like he doesn't have a developer advocate name. But he goes around and talks like about architecture and DevOps best practices. And so we had him in because he's been doing lots of research on how you deploy data cloud changes.
Ooh.
And it's
Is the answer prayer or sacrifice?
Well, certainly Steve has sacrificed a lot of hours to try and understand so that we don't have to pray, perhaps. But we did this like, I mean, we got about 90 minutes of recording, and that's been edited down to about 50 that I think we're going to release soon, that I'm super excited about because it's really instructive. It get best practices. It kind of says unequivocally and, you know, very clearly what the state is right now, which I'll just say, like, it isn't ideal, and it's not going to feel like most people who are familiar with deploying on Salesforce, like what they're used to. And I think the two key things to zero in on there is, I'm going to say three actually. One is that there is a manual step that you have to take with a button. It's the only way to do it. And that's to generate a package.xml that is used to both retrieve and deploy your data cloud changes between environments. Right. So that package.xml, in order to be generated, there's a button on the UI. The only way to make that package XML happen is that button. So like, how do you do that? Well, obviously a person can go click the button. Robotic process automation is another way. You know, you could write your own Selenium scripts to do it, but like one way or the other, somebody's got to go and click that button if you
Sorry,
want.
I think the word you missed there was an agent. I think you were saying an agent can go and click the button for you.
Oh,
Is that what
okay,
your
yeah, maybe
agentic-driven deployment process is here,
Yeah,
Pete? Come on, everything.
Yeah. So that's one key thing. Another is that, you know, because like data cloud sort of lives in its own adjacent infrastructure that's not really like what we call core Salesforce, right? When you deploy from your project, like all your other stuff that you deploy, if you have other sort of core Salesforce features, kind of gets there and is ready to go. But most of the data cloud stuff needs a second step to take the metadata definitions that are at that moment in time basically sitting in your org and move them over into the data cloud environment. So that's a big difference.
Is there, and I look forward to these videos because data cloud is one of these things I'm going to admit I really haven't touched.
Yeah.
Like I don't do a lot of consulting work for too many clients at the moment, but those that I do it for, like data cloud is just beyond where they need to be. Like it's just trying to tidy up some of the stuff we've already got going on.
So the third thing is cost, because everything costs in data cloud. Everything goes against your allocation, whether it's running in a sandbox or production org. And so if you want to set up a deployment pipeline, that includes like 3 sandboxes, let's say a integration environment, and then a UAT in production. Every one of those environments that performs a data cloud operation is running against your allocation. And so the total cost of the project needs to factor in the, that process, every time you go and, maybe run a set of tests, for example, or, whatever it is that happens. And that's a bit fuzzy because there's no like data cloud testing framework that I'm aware of, although it is accessible from Apex. So maybe there's a way to do tests in some way. What a test looks like, I guess what I'm saying is unclear. But, if you're moving things, and you're standing up those environments, and those environments are doing, work that is build, that takes from your allocation of credits, then you could end up, using a fair amount. So, those are kind of the 3 big things that I would call up. But there's some other really interesting details that I'm definitely not giving it all up. And Steve has done an amazing job of really laying out in granular detail what's happening in each step and what all the things are. What are the things that are different? Like there's some weird things about how they've decided to structure the metadata. Anyway, so it's going to be a 1 hour, it's like a 50 plus minute video that we're going to, we should be getting out pretty soon. We don't have an actual date yet, but I'm super excited about that.
Are you gonna? Because that does sound really, really interesting. Because one of the things I immediately want to ask is, would you or would Steve recommend separating out your Salesforce projects, like your VS Code projects, as it were, into one for Data Cloud and one for everything else to kind of keep that cleaner? And how do you manage these processes to kind of keep it so that you're not consuming all those resources all the time?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid approach. There are potential challenges, I think, with any way that you decide to do it, but I think some form of the pipeline of changes that happen, to the Salesforce core stuff, kind of living pseudo independently from what you're doing in Data Cloud where possible. And I say where possible because now we're going to be like, the idea with Data Cloud is you start to build flows that use Data Cloud, and start to build other core metadata that possibly accesses Data Cloud. They've added SOCL support for Data Cloud, I think, haven't they?
They've also added, I posted it in my newsletter this morning, there was an announcement a couple of weeks back that really flew under the radar for me, which was about bringing your own Python code into Data Cloud.
Ooh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. It's in this. I'll find a link to this week's newsletter and post it in there so you can have a read.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For anyone who's interested there. But yeah, it's it is like crazy.
Yeah. The other bit of news I'll share, totally unrelated and just like personal news, is I had another minor bike accident this time, but I did have a visit to the hospital and ended up with a minor concussion over the weekend. So feeling better, but if I start speaking weirdly, just get in touch with my wife, let her know.
Yeah, will do. I mean, yeah. I'm glad to hear you're okay. Minor concussions or major concussions, no concussions are good. Yeah. So yeah, you just need to not ride your bike anymore, or just do it in one of the Zorb outfits. Just stick that over the top.
Could put on one of those big sumo wrestler suits, just anything that's sort of big. And they do make some kind of like almost like airbag vest that you can wear now if you get in a mountain bike crash. I've seen somebody on a video testing one.
Have you I mean, I don't want to like relive the trauma for you, but can I ask, when you had the kind of accident you had, would stabilizers just have helped? Would they have stopped you? Like, because that might be a simple option as well, just to kind of throw it out there.
I think the kind of writing I do, stabilizers would be about the opposite of what I would want most of the time.
They might just slow you down a little bit, and then you're less likely to crash. This is what you got to think about.
I'll think
Yeah,
about it. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Well,
I'll think
please
about it.
look after yourself. Don't go getting yourself hurt and injured. So, um, as ever, we're 35 minutes into the stream, and we've gone off and we've spoken a lot about a lot of things, including some cool stuff around XML and AI. But we're here today to talk through updating our CLI. So, should we give people a recap of where we ended the last stream and what we've done since? It's probably a good way to
Yeah.
start.
So basically, we had gotten as far as pulling together the, our command line version of what used to be the build an app button back in the sort of like almost 15 years ago days of Salesforce, where you could click on a button, enter in just a couple of values, and you'd end up with the object, the tab, the an app as well. And then there's some other metadata that came along for it, of course, things like page layouts and such that would just sort of materialize. But so we've been trying to build that as a command line command, and because there is already an object command, we had the brilliant idea of reusing that command
Because why
by
wouldn't you?
actually importing it into the project, as its as the library that it exists in the Salesforce CLI, and attempting to invoke that API directly, which didn't work.
It did not. It failed spectacularly. Which, is one of those things.
It is one of those things. So Paul did some sleuthing and some outreach.
Some
Really
begging.
thankful to Nicola Viami, who apparently sat down and spoke to you, or maybe you did an exchange by messaging. I don't know. But Nicola,
Yeah, it was just some messages. So
yeah.
First of all, a big shout out to Nicola. For those who aren't familiar with the man, the myth, and the legend that is Nicola Viomi, let me just bring him up on LinkedIn.
He is the SFDX Hardest guy.
Yes,
And he's funny.
he is great fun. So this is this is Nicola. As you can see, open sourcerer. He has done a number of things, spoken in loads of places, and is a great fun person to be around and hanging out with. And no guinea pigs, sadly, at Dreamforce this year from his stuff. But if you're interested in getting some cool updates on Salesforce stuff in general in multiple languages, drop him a follow on LinkedIn and other channels. But I would also say he is SFDX Hardest is a fantastic piece of kit. Have you used Hardest before?
I'm not really used it. No.
Well, I think we have a future episode where we maybe go away and set up some of that. But SFDX Hardest is basically brilliant for doing backup, metadata backup, CI/CD, and project documentation generation. So they have an AI plugin that goes through and reads all your documentation and spits out some great documentation for it.
And it is what I do know about it is it's a very active open source project. They're super welcoming to new contributors. So if you're kind of new to the ecosystem and come from the open source world and looking for projects to kind of maybe dip your toe in and collaborate on, just because of who Nicola is and kind of how he goes about developer community, I'd strongly recommend looking at this project. But I know of it despite having not used it, and know it has a big following and a lot of support.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff. So just as an example here, the fact that there's over 1,000 closed pull requests is like I don't think there's many others out there in the Salesforce space for that. What I was going to say to people as well is when we talk about contributing to an open source project, like you don't have to be writing the most incredible, amazing new feature. You just have to be making it better. If that means going in and running some additional tests, if it means going in and just looking at some of these little bugs or little feature requests and saying, "Oh, why is that happening?" And just having a look. That's a perfect way to go through and do it. And hey, Ellie. Ellie's just said, hey, she's watching from just outside London. She has been playing with Hardis and is very useful for anyone that uses Conga. So that is good to know. I saw that Ellie posted this week, in fact, on LinkedIn about a big deployment that's gone live at her workplace. So good to see that, Ellie. Well done on that, and congratulations to all your team. And yeah, it's a fantastic bit of kit, great tool to use. So definitely go away and have a look at
And
it.
I'd say I'm not
Even if you're not
surprised to see Ellie using it. Ellie is, I always can think of her as very much at the cutting edge of using Salesforce tools. She did a great talk on, what was it? What's the logger? Nebula Logger. I've seen her give a talk on that. That was quite good.
I do have thought that we should do some episodes in the future, maybe where we sit down with some of these tools and go through setting them up on a project just to see what it looks like.
That's an interesting idea.
Cool. So so I did have a chat with Nicola and was just like, hey, Peter and I are fools. How can we not get this done?
In my defense, I did suggest this solution.
You did. You suggested it.
I did also call it really kind of kludgy, but orbital, I think was the word I used.
I said that, look, I'm a fool. I don't know what I'm doing here. Help me. And Nicola suggested we use exec. And he in fact pointed me to this code in SFDX Hardis, where he has defined this exec command function that takes the command and executes it.
Oh, nice.
We're not going to use all of this stuff in here because copying and pasting what is 200 odd lines, 100 and something lines of code, 200 lines of code from another project is disastrously stupid, and we're not going to do that. However, this was really useful. I spent some time looking through this, and it was a very, very good piece of code to have a look through. But at the top, what we can see is that Nicola and the team are using cross spawn, and they are using child process, and they are also using Promisify, which I've completely lost on the list here.
Right there. Oh no, util.promisify, that one?
It's from util then, which is banked util.
There you go.
And so he's obviously just, and what he's doing there is just taking the exec command and promisifying it as exec is one of these wonderful Node.js commands that is not.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. So it just takes it takes a command line. It can take a command line command and actually treat it like a promise.
It can take, so util can take any JavaScript function and promisify it.
Oh, cool.
Because let's just take a couple of steps back. So first of all, Node.js out of the box has child here through spawn. So spawn is spawn is a pre-built function within one of the Node.js core functions. You can use it, as you can see here, it's going to spawn the ls command to list out things, and it's going to give it some options of directories and things like that. And it returns a response. But you have standard out, standard error, and also on close. So you have these kind of three. You're listening for events on the different kind of paths that it can run through. This is great, but what I liked was the way in which Nicola and the team had gone in. Here we go. And promisified it, because if we go down to this code here, which I've just selected util, and so that has gone and messed it up. If I search for, can I go back? So let me search for it now. You pain. So I go to exec command, which is here. What you can see is, I'm just trying to find the right line here. So it gives some options, deals with process environment, and await exec runs the command with the options. And that's a much nicer way of doing it, I think, than having to write lots of code around if it does this, if it does that. We can just have our normal kind of response and error handling. Right. So what we're going to do today to start off with, so we're going to use cross spawn again, and we're going to follow a little bit of what the guys have got at the top here, the team at SFTX Artists have got at the top here. So just before we do that, I want to show you, I went away as well and spent a few hours just tidying things up, because you will also remember we had problems at the end of the last episode where we couldn't actually get the thing to run. So it now should run for us. So we have our MDX generate application command, and it is running and asking our questions for us. I'm just going to kill it. But it is running and will create things we wanted to create, which is namely here, going in and creating our app with our app name and just getting the answers to object name and does it have a vowel. Okay. So what I thought would be a good way for us to start is, I think we want to write a small test where I just want to check we can run the version command. Once we can run SF version, and once we can, so what we want to do is run that and effectively get this output. Once we know we can run the SF version command, then I think we go through and we can test the generate S object command, but then go in and look at saying, okay, great, what parameters do we need to provide in, and make sure that we're just kind of skipping over some of that interactivity that command has and just pushing in, the correct name, vowel name, plurals, etc., or anything else we need. Make sense?
Yep.
Cool. So first things first, I'm just going to swap around some bits on my screen just so that I can still see some of this wonderful code up here. So first thing we're going to need to do is install cross-spawn. And we're going to spell npm correctly. We're going to spell install correctly, because both of those things are important. And we're going to install cross-spawn. So cross-spawn helps us deal with the magic of Windows and Unix and everything else together. Oh, hello. Is it a different name, and I'm just misnaming it?
Did you do an underscore instead of a dash?
Yeah. Although weirdly, elsewhere it was listed as a dash, but that's fine. So we have here spawn. So we've installed that, and what I'm going to do is go up here and just add that into our requirements. I'm just looking here. If we just run this now, what will it output for us? If I do const version equals spawn, and we're going to just do spawn. So there is an async and a sync option. I'm just going to use the async one, and it's going to be SF. And the command is SF version, isn't it? Yep.
Yep.
So SF, and then we provide a list of commands, which I think would be just doing I think if we did that, that would give us this version of assignment never used, version of declared but never read, unsafe assignment of any value. Yet TypeScript doesn't like that, but that's fine. And if I just do this.log,
Did you say that was the async version?
Yes. So I probably need it to be. So yeah, there's and sorry, let me just explain what I mean by that. There is both a sync spawn and the sync and an async version.
And you don't need to use an await in that instance.
It does not. It doesn't suggest so here. So
it's just odd. Okay, I mean, give it a go. But I was.
We can but try. So just move that back out of the way. So if we now go here, so we save that. It's probably going to whinge still, but let's just see. Yeah, it whinged. Reference error, plugin.warn, blah, 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 blah. Require is not an EF, but oh, that's why. says import. One of the things, does everyone know about the come up require statement? There's quick fixes. I'm assuming most people know this, but you can just do quick fixes in VS. This was a feature, I'm sure, before like AI or anything. It was just a handy little feature.
It's still coming up red.
Yeah, right. So import spawn, cross spawn should be listed in the project dependencies. I thought I did save it.
I thought so too. Oh, but that was cross underscores. Well, okay, yeah.
No, there's a.
That worked.
So a lot of it's just whinging before. Interesting. I wonder if it does have any types. Let's just see. Does it have any types here?
So you're thinking there's like a TypeScript type?
Yeah, it's saying if you have a look, you'll not find a declaration file implicitly has any types. Let's just try that. Okay, that seemed to work. Cross spawn should be listed. Yeah, it's just saying it's not in the dependencies. Which is weird.
That's bizarre.
All right. Let's give it the go on this one, or maybe it's just my npm messing around. Will be if I do that, won't it? Right, come on. So, okay, that should be in there, so it should be fine. Weird. No, not that again. Let's try that. There you go. So let's generate an app, and we're going to call it demo. Name of the object you wish to create. Oh, we're going to call it demo1. Object name does not start with val. Oh, and look, did you see that there?
What was that? Oh, okay.
Version was object. Sorry, it's probably a bit small still. Version was object. So it is returning some data for us, which is
Interesting.
rather awesome.
Yeah. So what did you do? Because I was sort of watching. I was kind of trying to look on the cross-spawn docs and see if I could see anything.
What, to get it to run?
What's that?
Sorry, what was the question? What did I do to?
Oh yeah, what did you do to get it to work? Like, what was the bit that you added?
I think it was missing just the types. So I just ran the types thing. This feels strange because it is in the dependencies. I'm pretty sure. If we looked here in package.json, it would be cross keywords, dependencies, cross says dev dependencies. It's in there as a dependency.
Okay, yeah, I see.
So I'm just going to assume that Visual
Studio. I'll be right back.
Nice. So we then also have our any value coming in here, which is fine. We can just deal with that later. So what we want to do is do some inspection. So we can at least see that the version was running. We could just, if we wanted to, just change that to be.
Say a British heat wave.
Yeah.
It's like what?
Just log out the. Console version. If we just do that as an object, is that possible? Is that what we want to do? Unzip site already. All right, that's fine. Just try seeing if it will run this. I don't think it will. I think it's going to moan because TypeScript loves a good moan. Yep, TypeScript loves a good moan. Argument of type child process. Okay, that's fine. So this is where we want to start looking at Promisify, I think, to be able to resolve it, because what the Promisify is going to do for us is take that and allow it to just be a little bit less rubbish.
Right.
Interestingly, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to update this. And I wonder if that is going to make it. Yeah, I'm going to go down here. Oh, 1 minute. Is he using cross spawn? Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just looking. Let me explain what I'm doing. This is terrible. Terrible radio, as they say. So I was just looking for examples of how cross spawn is being used, and you can see here that it's being used for the git command here.
Right.
I was just wondering if in the exec.
So they have like one
Yeah, we don't
way
need
of
cross
doing
spawn.
this that is they kind of have their exec call out method or function that is kind of one way, but then they're also using cross spawn. Is that?
Yeah, it seems that there are two things being used. So let me just do this. Second, I'm going to import child process
I wonder
and
if I
util.
was like, oh, so I was just reading on the cross spawn website that it doesn't do well with commands with spaces in it.
Yeah, so let's remove this anyway then. What's the command to remove something from npm? There's something I've not done in a while.
Npm. I forget if it's uninstall or install with like a flag. I was just using this the other week actually. Npm
uninstall. So uninstall cross and spawn. Cool, that's gone. Right, so we're going to install child process and utils. Util. Cool. So that one's in there. What's up here? Should be. This is just whinging because it's not high up enough. It literally is whinging because it's not high up enough. Declare but never read. Declare but never read. Honestly.
Some folks are just picky.
Say again?
Some folks are just picky.
I just find it like too opinionated in just so many irritating ways about things.
You mean
I get the point.
TypeScript? Or
so I've started using TypeScript more in some personal stuff, and I don't hate TypeScript, but I find that there's just certain things. So this is not the TypeScript thing. This is that's TypeScript because it's never read. But this one is ESLint. Some ESLint, some are others. Like it's too much linting too early on. Like wait until I've just got my stuff together before you tell me I'm wrong. Okay. So now it says that. Now this is coming in here. Prefer node child process over child process. So like, we do that. Great. And then look for node util. Again, very, very helpful. I just find there's too many of them. Right. So what we can do now then is, because we promisified it, I'm going to await wait exec. So let's do const version equals await, and we're going to do exec, which is our new command. I'll do sf and it's exactly the same as before. So we're fine. It's SF hyphen version. Why is that changing? No overload matches is cool. Or is it just that? I think then maybe. There we go. And then we can log that. So just going to log out the standard out portion of that. So it has options where it gives standard out and standard error, because obviously.
Right. Yeah.
There you go. Whoops. And it goes away and it will run that. And there we go.
Look at that.
Success. Right. So we are now able to put this out.
So I mean, going back to that, because you were trying to pass the parameter in an array, is it because that parameter doesn't have a value that you just like? I'm not sure I understand like what the problem was there. Is what I'm saying.
The problem is that I was using the spawn version rather than the child version.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is, where's the exec command? Let me just find it.
Well, it's line 8. Is that the one?
No, sorry. I'm just looking for it in the node docs. 1 second.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So there is here an exec option that has it in there. The options are objects. It says all these options, but it is not an option for. So do you see what I mean? It's the exec is actually calling the full thing, whereas the options are more things like. So yeah, you can see one there. Options are used. Sorry, say again.
Go back to the cat one. So cat all JS. So start.js missing file. Word count that. So I mean, you're literally just like you have a string version of the command that gets run.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So, which means we're going to have to do a little bit of string interpolation, which is fine. We are more than capable of that.
No, I mean, template literals make it so easy in JavaScript. So
exactly, yeah. So it's not too bad at all. The other thing we want to look at quickly is these flags. So this is our. I've just switched over to a different window before people wonder what's going on. And this is our Sandbox sessions kind of Salesforce space that I've been working with. And you can see here that this is the schema generate S object. I have typed object at first because I use shorthand all the time. And it generates our information for us. And you can see here, use default features without prompting. So search, feeds, history reports, activities, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. We can have an L, which is the label. Okay. And that will just kind of go away and run through things for us. So if we were in here to just run now SF generate S object, SF schema generate S object. Correct, isn't it? Yeah, schema generate S object. And if I put in a label of potato, I was just trying to think of a word I've not used because there's bound to be another thing in there. So potato
is the most common custom object name in the Salesforce install base, you know.
Is it really? I bet you there's some stat in Salesforce about like what's the most common used object name. So if we just run that,
there we go.
It is going to ask me to kind of where I want to store things. So we're going to have to make sure we provide a description as well.
Yeah. There's a really interesting feature that I don't think it's really something we want to explore, but you can essentially create a set of configuration files in a directory,
Mhm.
and you basically point the command at that directory, and it interpolates all those commands, and then that's how that command will run. So I think the purpose behind it is so that you can actually check your commands into version control, of course, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't think it's worth it to do it in this instance, but I think if I was building this, I might actually consider a sort of directory based, with a set of files that would define those again so that I could have them checked into version control as
Mhm.
opposed to just some plain text.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I think the interesting thing we're going to have to look at in a second is these questions and answers.
Yep.
So, because we're going to have to, interestingly, see if we can respond to the CLI through the exec command.
And there's no way, but some of these must have parameters that you can set in the actual command itself.
That's the list of parameters. It is
Flags directory. That's the one. And then label. Really? They don't surface anything.
no.
And flags directory only works for the flags that are available, as far as I know.
So the interesting
And are
thing
you doing dash H or dash dash help? Just curious.
that was dash dash help.
Okay, yeah, so that's the long version of the help. Wow.
So this actually brings us to an interesting kind of conundrum,
Yeah.
which is going to make you go no. The question is, do we? So I think what we can do is play around trying to get this to work, where we can have that question and answer session through the exec. But are we going to be easier having our own object generator?
Oh, you mean like just go and directly invoke the
Yeah,
metadata API?
yeah, because we know that we know we could put together a command here for creating an object.
Yeah, I think this is like if we had a real project with a real set of requirements, like we'd be
Mm.
able to answer this a lot better because we'd actually have a user and a user story that we were trying to define. But I think since we're kind of like, this is a bit of a uh, you know, um exploration on our part to see,
Yeah.
like, is this possible? Like we don't really have that. Like what would be um I mean, in the end, if we were to just let it go through the prompts that it goes through as far as what it fills out,
So
there's
what? And
no,
there is another thing we could try.
yeah.
So if we were to do the following, okay. So that is our first command, and remind me just to make sure I'm correct. Commands will run left to right, with then the pipe character piping into the command to the right afterwards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we then did pipe and just, is there a way of, so I wonder if there's a way of forcing a return character.
Oh.
Do you see what I'm trying to get at?
So that, like,
Well, actually, I mean, we want it to be this, so we could just type that in. So what I'm getting at is if we did let me just change this from potato to, what's your favorite kind of food, Pete? What's your favorite piece of food?
oh, let's say taco.
Taco. Right. So if we then did tacos, and so just for everyone following along here to explain the absolute madness I'm trying right now. The
I think
pipe
I see where
command.
you're going, but yeah, go for it.
So the pipe the pipe in a command line will take what you have just what is the output of a, so if you've got two commands, let's just minimize this a minute. So if we have in fact, what was that example we had a minute ago?
Which
The cat one. So this is an actual example. It's good to go through. Um,
oh, okay.
so
Right.
if I were to take this, just paste this out. This pipe here is delimiting our two commands. There's actually two commands in this. There is a cat command and there is a WC command.
What are you
I
showing?
can't remember
Because right
what
now,
WC is.
you have it up there. Sorry, I missed where you
Sorry,
pasted.
WC is word count and cat is like a search, is it not?
It's concatenate actually.
Oh,
But if you just
okay.
pass a single file, then it'll just output that file. But this would concatenate. I think the way that would work is every JavaScript file in that directory would be concatenated with whatever is in missing file, the content of what's in missing file. So if you have one file that has like the word this in it, file 1, file 2 says that in it, and you do cat this that, then the output would be this that.
If I was to just grep tab.ts, so that's grep from here, search for tab.ts. Is there a flag that needs to run? Tell it to get all of the child. I'm just trying to think of a command we can run quickly to show people what that looks like.
Yeah. So just do like head space minus n10 on any of the TypeScript files, and then do to work.
Okay.
10
minus n10 like
and
that.
then the whatever the file name is you want to.
So can I get the path for that? Copy path. Could be relative path. Look at this.
Ooh, lovely. Yeah, and then
if
you then do WC minus. If you do WC, you'll get all the different measurements actually.
There you go. So this is what this has done though, is this has gone through in this file. So it's run the head command, passing the parameters here to the head command to go over this file, and then it has output. It's taken the contents of or the output of that command and piped it into the WC command, and so we've got our output here. Not sure what these three things mean, but
so 10 is the lines because we only did 10 lines.
Okay.
41 is the whatever it considers a word, and I think that's just any one or more characters contiguously without a space is considered a word, and then 391 would be characters.
So if I did this like that, it would do the entire file?
I think so. Yeah. Oh,
apparently not.
Oh, maybe it's defaulting to 10. That's a good point. Yeah, but if you did cat instead of head, then it would do the whole file.
Okay, let's do that quickly. There you go. 51 lines. Yep, 51 lines, 195 words, 18 characters in there. Yeah. Okay, but this is output the entire file here into this one, and that's how it works. What I'm trying to see if we could do here is if we were to pipe, if for every one of these commands, if for every one of these questions we view it as the next command and we pipe in the answer, whether that's going to work. This is possibly insanity, but we'll try it.
So you're saying that we would do the app command, take its output, and then do the tab command, and then take its output and do something with that, etc.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is we would do ours. So in here, we would do our app and tab and whatever we were doing anyway, which we're importing. Here we're importing create app, right? So we can call create app directly. That works fine.
Yeah.
and we can pipe in the information there. What I'm saying is we could ask for this information up front. So we could say, what do you want the object to be called? What do you want? So we could ask the questions which are object, plural name. We could ask these questions almost,
Right.
and then push the answers through. This is not ideal. I want to be very clear, because what we actually want is those questions to come back to the user, because this brings us on to an interesting thing about coupling. Salesforce changed these questions. We're up a creek without a paddle.
There's also like the potential for fragility on the operating system. Like, would this work the same in PowerShell? I guess it probably would, but there is a risk of that if you're doing too many OS calls, that if you're calling something that's native to that OS, then there isn't an alias or, a same named command on, or you don't pivot, or it just makes your code more complex. So yeah.
I am not recommending this as a way of doing it. I'm just interested now to see if this works.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a little experiment. I'm a bit puzzled by, when we were trying to invoke the command directly, it felt like a lot of the stuff we could set, right?
How do you mean when we tried to invoke
when we tried actually accessing when we were trying to invoke the create object command as an API, as a function, I thought a lot of this we had an option to pass in. Like, we could just do it, didn't it?
It probably does. It's probably just not documented or listed anywhere, is the issue. So let me try running this a sec.
Okay.
For this interesting, permission denied. 1 minute, that's why. I'm being daft. Sorry. Do you know what we need to do?
Oh, well, in this case, because you're not dependent on any data, right? Like, you're not actually piping any data between these,
No.
right? I would probably just use double ampersand to separate each of them, because then if there's an error on one, then it will stop. The other option is just to use an ampersand, but then if there is an error, it just keeps on going.
Yeah. I'd like to just spend a moment just saying that this is not how we're going to finish this. This is not what we're going to stick anywhere. Like, before this becomes a thing that is Paul and Pete have written the worst command line command ever.
The jankiest Salesforce CLI plugin ever. Yeah.
Oh, it didn't work.
It just gets stuck, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it outputs all of the other things.
Yeah, because it never got done with the first command in the first place, did it?
No. So let's. I think we've got two paths forward here. For everyone to see. So I think path number one is, let's go and have a look at that API again and see if there is any way we can see that there are flags or things we can pass in and they're just not listed. And option number two,
which itself is brittle, because we're basically using undocumented features, and there's no guarantee they'll be that way tomorrow.
Right? Yeah, it's all right. Salesforce never makes changes to stuff. We're fine. I agree.
Hack like thing.
There's probably I mean. So what I was going to say, the second option for us is, which I think is the better option, is we just go away and generate our own object file.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility.
So source.
We've already done that with everything else, and then I think that's probably, in some ways, it's it doesn't have any worse challenges than the ones we're already doing, because in those cases, like, we're already manually constructing an XML file and basically sticking it on the file system. So it puts it in the same sort of tier as all the other stuff that we've done so far. But I think the question I have is, does the object command do things like also create a page layout? Like, so do we need to manually create a page layout now? Or if you deploy an object without a page layout, does it like use a default page layout? These are things I don't know.
Yeah, I think we have to look into some of those as well. So,
yeah.
So yeah,
and we
if we
said
have a look,
we would finish today.
I know. So we can see here that they're doing prompts. So these aren't available for us to. These are all prompts.
Right. Okay. And but those values like plural label, those aren't surfaced in any way or as like hidden parameters or something like that.
Nope.
Damn. Okay.
They're just a results object. So what it does is it allows you to ask those questions.
Curse you, Salesforce CLI team.
Right. So let's have a look at an object.
I wonder why they didn't just surface them. I don't get that.
I mean, the fact that we can't just use the plugin from the plugin, like the thing for the plugin as a whole.
Well, that's a whole other,
We could get very, very annoyed about many, many things here. So,
I mean, there is actually another option, which is no longer really the, and this, to be fair, this would be, I think, a valid option to discuss if this were a real project. Like our whole goal was enter in a label, enter in a plural label, singular label, and an app name, and like all this stuff gets built. Like that was our goal. But how far off are we if we just invoke the command line command and then we just go through those prompts anyway? Like, how bad is that really?
Well, I suppose this is what we can actually check here quickly. So if we were to go through and SF schema generate object s object, and the flag is and it was hyphen label, and we want this to be object name answer, right?
Yeah, what's the F for?
Default features.
Oh.
We're going to turn that off. We don't care about that. That's not our problem. That's for them to decide. So if we did this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just see what happens. I'm intrigued now to see if it comes up with the questions or not.
Right.
So I'm just going to collapse that, and I'm going to make this bigger. Yeah, I think that I think you're right, Pete. I think there's a very good. Whoops, where have I just written the word clear? Not there. Thank you. Right. We're going to go for fajita. Oh, hello.
What's that?
No, it doesn't. This command is required to run within. 1 minute. It was trying to run from within a Salesforce project directory. This is where we need to do the linkage and try again, don't we?
Okay, yeah.
How did we do the link last time? Use libraries, debug your plugin. It's fine. Test your plugin. What was the link command? Do you remember we had this same issue last time where we couldn't find... But... This is genuinely less helpful than the previous documentation.
I think we would want to use default features, frankly.
Probably. Here we go. SF plugin. I wonder if we did.
Oh, wait.
We didn't use the dot last time. We didn't use the period last time. That's why it's causing issues.
Oh, that's schema generate tab. Yeah, it's so strange. I mean, you can, because I honestly, I think we would want to use default features because you get Saucel, You get feeds. Nobody's using Chatter anymore, so whatever. You get reports. You get history tracking. Activities turned on. Bulk API turned on. What's bulk API and streaming API classifies? Well, it says sharing, but it looks like they copied and pasted the description from bulk API to both sharing and streaming API. So,
why is it not allowing it to run? Is this the same issue we had before? So this is the same issue we had. It's just issues after issues, this annoying thing. It's not letting us link both the commands.
so it'll let us link the tab command, but not the
It'll let us link
app
create,
command,
and that's it.
or vice versa.
Yeah, only let us link. It'll just let us link the create one. So
Okay.
in here, it doesn't recognize this generate directory.
Why is that? That's so weird. Yeah, it's bizarre.
This is a weird error as well. Named export, on exit not found. Which is only on that. Find command mdx generate application. Named export on exit not found.
That sounds familiar from last time.
Yeah. See if Dr. Google can help. That's not very helpful.
Module that doesn't directly support.
Where's signal exit, I suppose, is my... Okay, what's requiring that? Inquirer.
Any luck? Sorry, I was just looking up some stuff about common JS modules.
Yeah. I'm not sure what this error is.
So frustrating.
It is. So, where are we? I'm just looking at the time. So, we are once again at an impasse, which is really annoying, because we're not going to get further. So I think there are a couple of things we need to. I think like that whole on exit thing.
It's the same thing
weird.
that came up last week, and we still haven't gotten to the bottom of it.
So I think I'm going to have to raise a case with, not raise a case with Salesforce, but see if on the CLI plugin site, is there anywhere that says about getting support?
Yeah, and I know Shane, he's moved on from engineering on that team.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can like ping him directly anymore.
No.
That's such a shame.
Yeah, it's so first of all, I think that there's that we need to figure out. SF CLI. Yeah, I'll have a look, see if we can find anything in there about. So where's the plugin generator? Plugin data seeding, plugin template SF. Trust test kit, core marketplace, dev. Cool. And this
Looking
is the
for
one
support
for.
on the actual plugin generator website.
Yeah, I'm just going to go on the. There's no issues place. Haha, that's great. It's just on the CLI issues itself, which is a force.com thing, nothing else, which is crazy. All right,
really?
let's create. Yep. So let's do this. Let's create a little bug. So we're using the latest version of CLI. Yes. Let's use the doctor command. I suppose that is the other one, which is where was that documentation here? I'm just wondering if it's worth trying to build this quickly again.
Build what?
So what I'm wondering.
Oh, okay. Just actually run build on the project.
Yeah. So yeah, if I just do build, npm build.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably node build. Here we go. What have we got here? Cannot find module build. Ugh. See if it's just at least going to run through the run menu.
Oh, yeah, it tells you to do npm run build instead, right?
Yeah, let's just try that one. Oh, yeah. All right, so that's ran. Now let me just try linking everything again. All right, so the plugin's linked. Yeah, it's still only got that because of this error. Okay, I'm going to raise a case around this.
Oh my god, the wind actually kicked up. It's so still today. The heat is just kind of like radiating everywhere.
So summary, when running the SF link dot, that was the correct command, wasn't it? SF plugins link. Right, let me just output all of this.
It's something down in Oak Cliff, it looks like, too. And that's where the error seems to be surfaced from.
Yeah.
It's interesting, I'll muse a bit while you're doing this.
Yeah, go for it.
So Oak Cliff kind of came about, and super cool project, right? It's been adopted. I think at one point in time, whether it's been rewritten now, but like there were several tech companies that their command line ran on Oak Cliff, and it written in Node, obviously, JavaScript. Kind of about the time that it came out, there was like this big move to Rust. And there's so much plumbing built into both Oak Cliff as far as being a command line framework, but then also the Salesforce CLI. Like who would ever write a Rust-based command line for Salesforce, right? But I think Rust is known for being a lot faster. Now, granted, probably the bottleneck in the Salesforce CLI is not like the local execution environment. It's, the call to Salesforce. But it always made me sort of curious if anybody would ever get up the gumption, in and amongst, I don't think it's not quite as cool, these days. But there's a period of time where, it's like if you're going to do something that was a command line, something or other, or something that was a bit more, I don't know, close to the metal, so to speak, of the operating system. It seemed like the prevailing fashion amongst developers was, well, you should write it in Rust. I don't think that's so much the case anymore these days, but yeah, I still wonder, in the same way that somebody wrote a version of the command line before there was one in Golang, which then later a lot of those ideas became the Salesforce CLI. Like would somebody take what's in the Salesforce CLI and just rewrite it in Rust? Or at least, create a basic set of really useful commands that then other people could come build plugins for. I think that'd be really interesting, like movement if it would manifest. Not that I've ever written Rust, like I don't know anything about it, but yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, I've not done anything in Rust. I know Shi Zhao has been doing a lot in Rust.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, he was on the podcast recently. He had some really interesting stuff on there. But yeah, he was saying a lot of it was very cool to work with.
I was playing around about a year ago with a code editor called Zed. I think I've talked about it before, maybe with you, but it has like a built-in screen sharing feature, or like, they called it a multiplayer IDE, I think, because of that.
Yeah.
Or multiplayer ID code editor. I think it's technically not a full-blown IDE, but that was written by the same guys who built Atom, and it's written in
I
Rust.
remember.
Yeah, it's written in Rust. And the thing about it, I have to say, it was super fast and super responsive. Like they did a great job with that. So, but I mean, obviously an IDE is a much bigger beast than a few command line commands. So there's that too.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's a few different tools for building nice kind of IDEs and things like that. So there's Charm as well.
Yeah.
That allows you to build forms and things in the terminal, which is quite nice. I think the kind of, and that's used by a lot of these teams to build out things. And I wonder what theirs is built on, if I'm honest.
Well, I've heard that there are like
they're all
Rust
built in
CLI
Go
frameworks. So
yeah, they're all built in Go. These ones to obviously.
Okay.
CLI home via recorder. So yeah, I mean, there is again, if we wanted to really go down that crazy option, we could go and write our own. But I do feel that's a complete. That'd be diving off the deep end a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like, but just learning Rust in the first place. But Seahorse, a minimal CLI framework written in Rust. That's interesting. Yeah, well, that's cool that Shishao is playing around with that.
Cool. As a result,
maybe that would be my vibe code project. Is I want to build a Salesforce CLI written in Rust using the Seahorse framework that supports these 10 commands. That's pluggable. I think I found my first proper vibe coding project that I might attempt someday in my copious free time.
Yeah, that's I think always the issue, isn't it? Is we'll have lots and lots of lots and lots of free time all the time. I need to unlink this thing because it's actually killing my. It's killing my regular SF, which is fun. All right, let me just rerun the verbose command so I can get that out. And excuse me, everyone watching, but I'm going to have to. Cool, and I am using ZSH. Cool. Create.
Oh, just go back to your command line really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
What was the command you used? So if you do sf version -- verbose -- JSON pipe pb copy.
Okay.
You need a space.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe pipe works without a space. Oh yeah. And now if you paste that somewhere.
Yeah.
There's also a pb paste, which I use all the time.
Learn something new every day.
Those two are like so useful.
So this is named export on it. Cool. Created. Let's see what we get back. Probably get the silly bot telling me that I've not added enough information, first of all.
Investigating.
Cool. So, I suppose that's probably us. I suppose for the final couple of minutes, watch if we. So say we can't get this resolved, which is not where we want to be in the world, but it is a possibility. No. I think there's a couple of things we can do. Number one is go and look at our create object or create subject kind of command and build that out using our generators. I do wonder if instead of having a separate command path for the generate application, we just kept it in create, whether that would have worked. So that's one option. Option two.
Oh, okay. So just like yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. That's
option two
topic, right?
It is a separate topic, yeah.
Yeah. So if we kept the same topic, would it still work? That's an interesting question.
Although things like SFDX hard disk have lots of topics, so I can't see that being the issue.
Yeah, and you'd think a single project would support multiple topics. That would be overly limiting.
You'd also think that we wouldn't have been the first people to find that error and it'd be listed somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's option one. Option two is we actually blitz this and just start from scratch and copy and paste things across until we find where the error happened. Because like all that's in my head is that we could have knackered this up somewhere. It's possible you and I have messed this up. So that's option two. Option three is we move on to something else. You and I are not short of ideas of different bits and pieces we could do. We could do some sessions deep diving into things like Nebula Logger, SFDX hard disk. We could look at things like what's the framework that I'm thinking of? We could also, so I know Mitch Spano has a new mocking framework out. I thought there's RF lib as well, was the other one I'm looking for. looking
Because
at
Pablo has a whole
Triton.
thing.
Oh, AWF
Yeah,
.dev. Yeah, the Apex well architected frameworks. There's
that would
that.
be kind of interesting because it just came out. Not to poo-poo anybody else's amazing work, because everybody you mentioned, those are all
Oh
valuable,
yeah,
valid. But I mean, Pablo's literally just came out, and it'd be interesting to
yeah. It's
dive into that
based based off of his book,
based off of his
which
book.
which is recently out, which I wrote the foreword for.
I saw that. I saw it on the
Yeah,
cover.
so I
I've not
wrote.
read the book.
No, I have a copy on its way to me, hopefully shortly. But yeah, so we could go through that. So I haven't got a copy of the book, but obviously, having written the foreword, I have read it and given some feedback on different areas for it, and it is a useful book.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could talk about that. There's
Well,
obviously
I
Heroku Apply.
particularly took note of Robert Sosman and his kind of very positive, his praise for the work that Pablo did. And I think there's, one of the things I know about myself is that, some, especially with getting into like the deep diving with coding, like I'm not necessarily the best critic, but there
No.
are people I know to pay attention to. And I think Robert's one of them. Not that I take his opinion as just, blind fact, but, I pay attention to like how he speaks about things. And if he has something good to say about something, then, to me, that automatically moves it up a notch, I think, in my perception of that, or like my interest in wanting to get to know it better.
Yeah, no,
There's other people like that. But anyway, given like Robert's feedback, given like generally it's something that's recent, it could be interesting to play around with that a bit.
it's a good framework, as I say, and yeah, the book's very good. Yeah, it's a really worthwhile. It was not a. I have read. I have on my desk here a pile, and I have others to go through that I have for my reading list for book reviews. So we have Mastering Salesforce Experience Cloud by Lily Bating and Rachel Roberts. Rogers, even, sorry. I can't read backwards. Salesforce Apex Design Patterns.
Oh, Chatmil Nadasanka. Nice.
Yeah. And then I'm not going to move my camera around because my desk is a mess, but I have on my desk the B2C Solution Architects. I've got a load of books to read, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
So people can look out for book reviews of them as I get through them. I'm currently working my way through Payman Lim's latest one on successful Salesforce projects. So
interesting.
Got that as well. Yeah, so we can go through that. We could go through Nebula Logger, go through RFlib. I had a good. I think one of the interesting things about the Apex well architecture framework would be to discuss how it to discuss it from a couple of angles. Because one of the things that I find interesting about these frameworks is I think there's very much a difference between the way you would write a product and the way you write code as a consultant, and also the way you write code depending upon what the need is. And things like a selector class and a service, separating it into all of the different classes and layers and things is very, very good as an idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's great in theory, but you have to be aware of the practice. So I will tell you that when I write code for my products, I write it in a different way than I do for code for just a consulting client. And you could argue that that's me not doing the right level of justice to the consulting client. If you wish to, I'll happily have that debate with you. But it's what the client's paying me for and what they want to get done.
Right.
And FFlib, which is the kind of one of the challenging frameworks that is mentioned there, I'm
Like,
sure
let's
that
face it, the original, like, where anybody attempted to build a framework around Apex.
well, I was out for lunch with Andy Fawcett the other week, and I was there watching FFlib big, and I don't want to say being born or the inception, but I was at Financial
Yeah.
Force as that was being developed.
Right.
Like I'm very well aware of kind of the needs and designs they had around it,
Right.
which I think people forget about, and I think people also forget that it was designed for an enterprise accounting product on the platform when there wasn't a ton of the technology you've got now. You know,
Right.
um, it was designed when the primary method was Visual Force and workflow rules, not when it was not when it was Flow and Lightning Web Components. It is an enterprise framework. It's not designed for small use cases. It's not designed for leaner use cases.
Sure. Sure.
But if you're
Yeah, and let's face
processing,
it, like, Financial Force now, Certinia, like one of the biggest apps I think out there,
oh yeah,
built on the Salesforce platform, if not the biggest.
yeah, and you've got to think of like I think a lot of people forget the volume of data that goes through an enterprise's accounting system.
Yeah.
Like that makes CRM data look minuscule. Like is you anyone who and I I am not going to sit here and defend. I'm not sat here defending Satinia or Financial Force for everything that's in their apps. However, the number of people I've said that like say it is it's slow or it just takes a long time to do. It's like, do you understand how double entry bookkeeping works? If not, shut up. Like
Right. Okay. Yeah.
having credits and debits and a general ledger and having to keep all of those in sync with transactions so that you can get audited properly is a different kettle of fish to creating a task for a
And I think
salesperson
it's
to go
that
to.
last part that's like really key. Like,
Yeah,
do you pass audit? Like,
yeah.
like
This is,
that's not a trivial thing, right? If it doesn't go well.
and I think that in general, this is one of the really interesting things about some of these discussions. It's like, I I'm a big fan of like trigger frameworks. I almost always use a trigger framework, but do I always use a selector layer? No, because I think they can get very kludgy and heavy, and I find that more negative than. And if you're doing anything that involves user input driving the query, then you start getting into all of it, like starting into XSS and kind of SQL injection and all these things in dynamic queries. Whereas if you're just writing the query for what you need at the time, much easier.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need every field on every object all the time. If you do that, your heap size gets big, and then things slow down in other ways. And performance isn't just a single number. Anyway, it's yeah. So we can go through some of these things. But cool.
Sounds good.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you everyone for following along. And sorry we didn't actually get. Once again, we didn't get it solved. Peter and I are going to go away for a couple of weeks and have a think around what the next step is. It might be when you join us next time. We're going to go through and show you awf.dev, or we should look at things like fflib, and there is a bunch of other mocking frameworks out there and some of the other patterns and frameworks, and kind of go through that. And I might even be able to see if we can get someone on to kind of talk us through them, give us their ideas on them.
Well, that's an interesting thought. I sort of feel like we need. It'd be helpful to have. Like, I thought about like how would you do this? Like, how would you test, you know, framework A against framework B and framework C? And I think like having some kind of like test app basically that had, I guess you wouldn't have to have custom objects, but maybe for simplicity's sake you do. And then you have like a trigger use case that you just go and duplicate over and over again. And so like, you could build a small, footprint app. And maybe that's maybe we have something that we can use, or maybe that's like, the next episode is, building that small app, see how quickly we can bang it out. And then coming up with a use case that we want, right? Well, actually it's probably, we want all of that before we build. And then once we once we have that, we could sort of like, what is it like to get fflib to run this trigger use case? What is it like to get
Yeah.
AWF to run this trigger, this trigger use case? It's just a thought of a way to kind of approach that.
Yeah, no, I like that. Let's put our heads together around a couple of things on that, because what I'd like to, I think it'd be good to have a little, as you say, test app where we're saying, okay, here's the nuts and bolts of the use case.
Mm-hmm.
How do we now apply this trigger framework or pattern framework to it? And maybe it's more of a use case than an app.
What would be the difference?
The app would have the code already written. The use case would be us saying we want to do these 10 things. Because all I'm thinking is otherwise we've got to take existing. I mean, all of that could be useful about how you take your existing trigger code or whatever and implement it in
I think when I said app, what I really meant was just like a data model, that we could, and a sort of common process that had a trigger at the center of it. So yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. But yeah, no, I think that's I'd be totally down for that.
Sounds good. Cool. Let's have a look then. All right. Well,
Excellent.
Thank you everyone again for joining. Thank you, Pete, once again for being here. And
thanks, Paul.
See you all.
And cue that music.
Let's go. Cheers, everyone. Bye. I didn't even press the right button. Thanks, everyone. Bye.